This is Energy of Business Moments with Michael Sipe, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their business success into your life and business. Energy of Business Moments is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Michael Sipe.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Energy of Business Moments podcast. I am your host today. I am Michael Sipe. We have Peter Erdei of Erdei Designs, who does custom woodworking and is a third-generation woodworker and master craftsman. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Michael. Yeah, it's great to be here. You know, this is I think it's my third podcast, and I wasn't really that familiar with podcasts before. But then I started to see how many people actually listens to it, and some people even take something home with it, out of it. So I know there's a lot of guys out there who likes to do this type of work, and maybe even thinking about starting a business. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'd love to give him the ups and downs, or the tricks, or however you want to call it, getting started. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you. For the audience to fully comprehend, and we'll put this in the video footage as well, is some of the work that you do, whether it's an exquisite dining table or a bar top or wall art. It's a very unique custom design set of pieces that you do and offer and have been doing for quite a bit now, and it's in the family. Would you share with us a little bit about the woodworking process and how that came about for you and how you started that business?
Yeah, sure. So my grandfather on my mom's side was a furniture maker, and I found out on my mom's final weeks, months, when she was sick, she told me that he actually made violins as well. So we kind of put some effort into it to see if we could find some of the violins, but it's been so long, and he, when my mom passed, my dad was cleaning out the house, and he actually found the original master craftsman, master carpenter, and craftsman certificate from 1912. And he used to live he's actually from Romania, but back then, that part of Romania was actually part of Hungary. So that kind of went on our family trade. And my dad was also very handy with wooden stuff. And we actually built most of our furniture in our home, like bookshelves, bed frames, tables, things like that. And I don't have a lot of memories of my grandfather because I was quite little. But I remember being in his wood shop after he passed. The wood shop was still there. And, they raised 10 kids, and there was a lot of kids in there doing stuff, and I remember my uncles used to take me in there, and I would have to hold a piece of wood, or just remembering these big hand planes and those old school rope drills that you pull the rope back and forward, and then you drill a hole and stuff like that. So, and then funnily, as a trade, I was actually a welder in a nuclear power plant and a commercial diver. But when we worked with wood, I felt like I was like decompressing. I'm like, this is cool, And after, when I retired from sea, I was done with welding. I was done with the steel work, and I said I want to do something different. So I got back into the more custom furniture making, and so that was in 2000, and 2000. So about 22 years now, and since then I worked in a lot of shops, which is very limited because you can't really put your own mind against making something, because you just, the mill in charge brings out the drawings, and then you just have to go and make it, and you can't really sit there and make your own stuff. And then I had a bit of a wake-up call in 7 years ago. My youngest son was turning 4.
Hmm.
But I was working 3 jobs, right?
Oh,
so
boy.
I know. So I was never home, right? So I was working at a full-time job, and then I was working with a bit of a furniture and handyman stuff, and then I worked in my kids' school because they go to private school, and really wanted to have them the best education. So I worked in the school, so we didn't have to pay the full tuition. But when I asked my youngest son, he was turning 3 actually. I asked him, well, "What would you like for your birthday?" And he said, "I want you home."
Oh, jeez.
But I mean, when you get a communication like that from a toddler,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of go, "Wow, okay." So that's when the idea came that I wanted to start my own business, and I had the opportunity 7 years ago, and I said to myself, "This is America, so anything is possible," and I just jumped right in there, and I had like 600 slabs, and we really had nothing but a warehouse full of wood slabs. That was it.
Huh.
And my wife and kids at the time went down to Clearwater Beach and Treasure Island, and told my kids, any house is bigger than ours, you put a card in there, and they start flyering these areas, right? And about 2 weeks, we got our first job, and then I got my first biggest client, and that client is returning, is keep coming back for more, and then my wife started to handle all the promotional lines, the cold calling. My wife is absolutely phenomenal in the marketing lines. We did not know this, but we went to some kind of a marketing seminar, and the guy who was an expert there said that if you get 10% opening rate on your emails or text messages, that's like a really, really good rate. And my wife and I looked at each other, we were like, wow. And the guy noticed it and said, he goes, "You guys don't think it's that great?" And I said, "Well, our opening rate is averaging between 37 and 45%.
Oh, man.
And we thought that was really bad. So he called us up to actually tell everybody what we do, because, it was like a total surprise. They were like, wow. And my wife really creates these emails and these text messages, and people just love to respond to it, and get in interaction with us and asking questions. And, we try to answer everybody we can, but we got like 1,500 emails back sometimes, and she's on it for days and days, just answering, But we realize what makes it so special and so successful is that it's a personal communication,
Mm-hmm.
not just a blanket kind of, one of those mass advertisement that goes out with bigger companies. We actually address people, and we actually answer people, which in most cases, I don't think people really answer anybody,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's how we got into it. And then we, back in the first days, it was hard. I mean, our financial planning monthly is about $15,000 with the rent and everything, so, game is afoot. So we just had to really buckle up and make the best out of it. And my kids start to get involved in it, and we make it into a family kind of a business. Both of my kids are doing something. My oldest son started a pen business. He makes custom pens. He's 12 years old, and my youngest does laser engraving and stuff like that. So once everybody got involved, we all understood what it really makes to put food on the table. So when my kids see that I'm coming home a little late, they're like, I can come after school and sand or something, So it's a really good experience for them, because this is how I grew up. I was going from trade to trade every summer break, My dad absolutely demanded from me that I learn some kind of a trade.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank him up to all the way today that he did that with me. I didn't like it back then because I really just wanted to be the ordinary teenager, you know, chasing the girls and going to parties. But he said, no, you will thank me later. And then I told him every time I talked to him, I said, I just want to thank you for pushing that for me. And, you know, it's a very different times to grow up back then than I see people now, you know. We'll probably cover the now part and some of the ups and downs as far as finding like people are actually interested. They want to work, you know.
Right.
You know?
Well, thank you for sharing that history of how you got the business going. And what strikes me as so unique is the pride that you all put into it from a family perspective. It's not just you, but it's your wife doing the marketing. It's your kids saying, hey, can I come in and sand? Whatever it is, you've created that culture and environment within a family-run business. Right. And the grassroots effort you guys did to hit up the local neighborhood and put out flyers, you know, those are all instrumental lessons that a lot of startup companies struggle with is, you know, how do I reach a customer? How do I connect? And not only do you have the company culture, but it spills over into the connections you have with your customers. Like they interact with your emails. That speaks volumes of what a quality company you guys have. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. So some great lessons there. And when we talk about ups and downs and I talk about energy, you know, we talk about our personal energy. And so sometimes that might mean like we're frustrated with something not working or a piece of wood's not behaving like we want it to behave. You know, there are a bunch of reasons why we might not feel good about something, but then there are other times we feel great about, hey, we just satisfied a customer beyond expectation, for example, and the inward joy we feel for them might be one of those highs. So if you could share maybe in the getting going, maybe a down moment for you all and how you adapted to that.
Well, as every business, you know, we all have our challenges, and frankly, we were extremely marketing illiterate and we had no clue where to start. I mean, I spent thousands of dollars on search engine optimization and Google this and Google that, you know, nothing brought the results that we were hoping for until, you know, we had a friend of ours and he said, well, one of your freedoms is communication. And then he grabbed his phone and he said, you see this? This is your platform. So I spent the time and the money to go to a seminar that was held by a friend of ours. His name is Manuel Suarez. He's the owner of AGM Agency. They are extremely good at what they do. And, you know, their statistics speaks for itself. I mean, they do marketing for Damon John and Dr. Eric Burke, and anybody they touch, they just blow up. And I went to the seminar, and probably the most important thing I took away from that seminar, besides a few other things, is that what really matters is the consistency. The content is not even so much so at the beginning. Just put stuff out there. Something that's interesting, something that's human-like. Talk about something, show the process you do unveils of the videos of the tables that you do, you know, and stuff like that. And I started to find that Instagram and Facebook was very saturated with stuff. So it was really hard to nail down the demographics on where to and who to market to. But then I found LinkedIn, and LinkedIn was the platform that we actually, even today, we get about 80% of our production.
Wow.
Because everybody there is like-minded. They are there to do business. They are there to network, to help one another, and they're in the need of certain things. And there's a ton of designers and architects and business owners and marketers, and you name it, are all on LinkedIn. And I kept my consistency, and I kept posting, and literally burning the midnight oil, being up at midnight, like literally midnight or even later, and answering people to their comments. So it's a personal relationship.
Right.
And, now we've been past for 7 years, and I can go to a networking event in Tampa or even in Orlando or sometime Miami, and I would walk into a show and people would come up to me like, hey, aren't you the wood guy from LinkedIn? I was like, wow, yeah, that's me. Hi, But it's a good gauge because it means you're really putting it out there so people start noticing you, And at the very beginning, probably one of the toughest one was, it was right at Christmas. We were still at the very beginning of like having clients and getting work, but the bills don't stop coming in just because there is no work. So, and it's very stressful. And I know that many business owners have problems at home because they can't separate the two. And coming home from a hard day to a house, there's argument, there is financial stress, there is, and we went through that as well. But then, we kind of decided, well, we either going to do this together and be in it together and do it together as a business, or let's just not do it at all. We got to have fun at it. We cannot do it and not have fun at it. So we try to keep the positive attitude. We start following people who are really good mentors like Grant Cardone, Damon John, and just looking at successful people. And I went to Grant Cardone's boot camp. I went to his different seminars. I actually personally know him from back LA when we lived in LA for a couple of years. And we talked about our problems, and getting onto the Cardone University was a very, very important turning point for our company, because they have these little segments of videos on how to close somebody and what to do in certain objections. And that was the very beginning of that. And then one day this Christmas, we had a massive job that we closed in Houston, Texas. And they said the $50,000 check was in the mail. So I was thinking, we're going to have a good Christmas, So, and then nothing came. So I called, I said, hey, what's going on? What happened to the check? Oh, the owner called off the project. I was like, wow. I'm looking at the calendar. I'm like, man, there's 8 days to Christmas. What are we going to do? So I started to take videos of things that I made. And within 3 days, because of we just took like massive action. Grant Cardone says, when the shit hits the fan, you got to take massive action, like you got to out-create it. So instead of going into apathy and sitting in a corner under a rock somewhere, just blaming the world and blaming the company who didn't send the check, we just got into production and we just started talking it up. We started touring people. We started sending videos out. And we literally pulled in about $20,000 or $30,000 worth of work in a few days. And I looked at my wife. I'm like, well, this is really good and this is really bad. And she said, why? Well, it's really good because we turned the scene around, but it's really bad because now we know we could do it. So there's no excuse. And this was a tough one. And we realized that we need to get ourselves educated more on the marketing platforms. And we had friends coming in and giving us advice. And we did all kinds of bargain. I made furniture for somebody and they would help me build a website, or I would do something for somebody else and they help us with marketing, whatever it was, So it takes a village. So we made it through, and we just connected with the right people. We try to play the spirit of play and not get too serious about it. And we kept our consistency on social platforms. So probably these three things is what really helps to pull us through the difficult times, you know?
Yeah, that's great. And those difficult times are life sucking out of us at times, you know, and we start to worry and really get concerned, and people, like you said, can get apathetic and go in the corner and like blame the world, or, you know, fight back a little bit. And so not only did you guys fight back, but you took that higher level energy of, hey, let's keep this fun, and let's do stuff that's unique to us, and just keep the press on, and we'll keep going. And then the orders came in, and you figured out, oh my gosh, it works.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So-
2020 was, we had a bit of like 3 months where I did not know if I could keep the shop because everything
wow.
shut down, you know?
Yeah.
So that was one of those make it go right scenes.
Yeah. No, that there are a lot of people who've gone through similar circumstances in 2020, and this is a great story. So that's the downside. Let's talk about the upside a little bit in your business. What gets you up in the morning? What do you all feel from a company perspective that really is a motivator for you?
Okay. Well, the way I look at it, when I try to hire people for the shop, I don't care what degree they have. I don't care how many years they worked in woodworking. If they don't have the passion for it, there's no way you could be in this business. There's no way. And probably the other thing that pulled us through the difficult times is the passion of it, you know, just to add to that a little bit. But, you know, we try to create like really interesting projects in the shop that like when it's the weekend, you can't wait to have Monday. And when it's Monday, you can't wait to get up like 5:30 in the morning and go to work, you know, and when you come in, this is my playground, man. This is my turf. What happens to it is what I do with it.
Yeah.
So if I mess up and I'm being lazy or I'm not doing something, that will show up on the income stream.
Yep.
If I come in and excited and finish projects and get them out the door, you know, that will also show up in your wallet and also in your free time and feeling accomplished. You know, we try to create projects that are exciting to get to, and most of the stuff that we built here we never made before. Like I had a client came in, you know, with her husband and said, you know, they give me this very unique table to build. It was designed in France. And they came in and they were kind of, I could tell that they were like really something sitting on their chest, you know. And I said, well, what's happening, guys?
Yeah.
And they said, well, you know, we really don't want to offend you, but we kind of feel like you don't know what you're doing. And I said, you know, no offense taken, I really don't. They both looked at each other. They were like, well, we just paid you $12,000. I said, well, I'm a hell of a salesman, you know. And they all laughed, you know. And I said, guys, we're a custom shop. I mean, you went around trying to find somebody to make this table. How many people did you find? They said, well, you were the only one who said yes. I'm like, yeah, because I think we could make this. So we will make it. So then we made it. And they came in and they were like still laughing about the scene of them coming in. And I'm telling them that I really don't know what I'm doing, you know, and they were like, wow. And they thought it was very, very funny to them. But that is the thing that really gets me into the shop. Like, hey, how do I go to bed thinking about jigs and how I'm going to cut this, how much the blade's going to be out, you know. And some people, I don't watch TV. I just don't. We have a TV at home, but we don't have cable or whatever you call it, direct TV, you know. We don't watch it because all that comes out of it is negativity, suppression, depression. And by the time you're done, you're like a vegetable, you know.
Right.
And my kids are not on electronics, period. I'd rather have them come to work with me or do stuff, but no, not on the phone, not on the iPad. And they don't even like reach for it so much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You'd rather be extroverted. So the ups are the freedoms we have I can get up in the middle of the day and have lunch with my son, whose school is 5 minutes up the road. If I want to have lunch with my wife, I can. If I want to have a half a day, I can tell everybody to go home and the day is paid. Whatever it is, the freedoms that I could create a culture where people do want to come and work is what really helps me, you know, on pushing forward and being excited about the company and about the future. And, you know, we've gone through ups and downs, especially in the last 2 years. And you know, it was just too many reasons to give in, but there was a hell of a lot more reasons to push through. And it is hard to find people like that who wants to be the same way as an employee or as a partner or anything like that, you know. And because of the lack of quality people, we are a custom shop. We do create incredible products. We do fall behind sometimes, but we don't quit. I don't just say, oh, I can't do this. I'm done. Just here's the rest of the money. I'm out. I'll push through, man. I don't care if it's in North Carolina and something got damaged on the shipping. I fly somebody up there to get it fixed. And then a client is like, oh my God, what is this going to cost me? And I'm like, nothing. The product is exchangeable when you receive it the way you dreamed it. And if it's not that way, then I need to make it that way. And I go until I get it right. I don't stop and say, I can't do this, and then just walk away from it, you know. So it's a good trade that we have in this company, that we all think with solutions instead of problems or stops, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So I hear a few values that are coming out: commitment, dedication, you know, keep pushing through. And then the other side is customer service. Like, you love seeing the client feeling fulfilled about that product you're giving to them, and you're going to make every effort to make sure that they feel that way. And that's definitely an up moment for you guys and gets you going. Thanks for sharing that. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Well, I also would love to hear, because you are a master creator. Like, you are always thinking about what's that next piece, what's the next challenge I've got ahead of me. So from that perspective, if you think about, you know, who could you meet with, deceased or living, that you could talk with that you wouldn't normally talk to, who would that be and why?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. Live or
Deceased?
Okay. I already have talked to Grant Cardone. He's pretty much my go-to guy because I know where he came from. I know all the troubles he went through, you know. And man, he was in for like a massive collapse back in 2008. But he pulled through it, you know. And I mean, his story is like, you know, he almost died when he was 25. Wow. I'm better off. I've never done drugs in my life, you know, ever. I don't even know what they were when I came to the U.S. When people were asking me about it, I'm like, so where do you get that? And they're like, y'all looking at each other, what do you mean where you get that? You get it on the streets. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you can get stuff on the streets here. I have no idea. And I just really didn't know. I came from a small town in Hungary and went straight at sea for 10 years. And that was my life. And then I came to the U.S. and it was a culture shock for me. Like how disinterested people were about the environment and each other. So when I saw Grant Cardone and what he's creating and how many hundreds of thousands of people he has helped with making his knowledge available to others, you know, if I say he would probably be the guy. The other person I would like to talk to that I have never spoken to was probably Damon John, because he also came from humble beginnings and he went through a lot of hardship, and he's an extremely wise business guy, and he knows so much and he helps others. So I don't think wealth and knowledge really mean anything unless you share it. It's really, that's how I look at it. If you have knowledge and you share it with somebody and you help somebody by giving them what you know that help you to be successful, then you say you've done a good deed. But people just keeping it to themselves and living on an island someplace and just enjoying that, that's fine too. But the value of the person is not really that high in my viewpoint because it's not really helping anybody. That's why I think so much of, for example, the armed forces we have, veterans, or law enforcement. A lot of them comes to the shop and works here because I just open the shop and say, if you guys want to work here, go right ahead. They're disciplined. They have good work ethics. They're funny. They helpful, So, and that is the only group of people I found that are disciplined enough in the United States. And you look around, my freedom and my American dream comes from because of their doing. You see, I was a Hungarian guy 30 years ago who spoke zero English, had no dreams, had no ambitions other than let's just go see the world. And then 30 years later, I'm in the U.S. I have a beautiful family. I have a great business. I love doing every day. I have the option of expand and create even more and help others and hire and, all the things that comes with it. And it's really because of the freedoms we have in the U.S. And I really think that that's what our veterans put there and have put there in the past 40 plus years, 50 plus years,
Yeah, absolutely. What I hear from you, Peter, is your authenticity and how much you value and appreciate where you are today and those freedoms that you've obviously enjoyed to get to that point today. So whether it's Grant, get and their beginnings and somebody like that motivating you, I hear a businessman talking about a mentor and then the space to operate in as a business person. So thank you for sharing that. That's some great insight, and a lot of people will benefit from what you're just sharing. Thank you.
Well, I hope so. I know it's tough out there. I apprenticed a few people through the shop, probably about 8 guys, and I showed them basic things how to do, and then they went off and they started their own business on their own. I don't think all of them really survived as a business owner, but I think maybe 3, 4 of them are still kicking and screaming and doing it, But some of my friends thought, you're crazy, you're creating competitions. And I was like, not really, not really. I'm not really creating a competition. I feel like I'm creating a stream of people who will try to or will carry on the trade itself, because it is really a lost trade. You don't find this anymore. Like, one of my friends gave a great analogy when he told me that I should charge this much per hour. And I had a guy came in here and he was an attorney with his wife. And he said, well, what do you charge an hour? And I said, $275. And he looks at me, he's like, man, that's like an attorney. And I said, it's true, but if you go out to East Bay Drive, how many attorney offices do you see? He goes, oh, it's in every block. I said, exactly. And how many craftsmen do you see? He's like, none. I said, man, I should charge $375 an hour. Now he's saying it. No. It's like, no, it's okay. We take pride in that. We definitely take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah. Peter, this has been absolutely fascinating. A lot of great lessons here. And again, really authentic. Love your work and love what you shared with our listeners and viewers today. So if people wanted to see some more of your work or get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Well, on the website, there's phone numbers, there's emails. I'm very easy to get a hold of on Instagram or more so on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is basically my name, Peter Erdei. And we're kind of getting more involved with Instagram. I was not so much involved with it, but now that we have hired a virtual assistant, we we're kind of looking at it more and more. I'm pretty prompt with my messages. I'm easy to get a hold of. If you're a crafts guy, or you're just a hobbyist, or you run into some kind of a stop where you have a question on something, I always answer people's questions. I believe that's a good way to make friends, and I try to get back to everybody within 24 hours. So I never go to bed earlier than like probably midnight. It's like, very important. Also keep your physical rudimentary things in, like food, vitamins, sleep, very, very important.
Right. Right. Another great tip. All right. Well, erdeidesigns.com is where they can find your website, and that'll be in the show notes as well. And again, thanks for being on the show today, Peter. Absolute treasure.
Yeah, Michael, thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Energy of Business Moments with your host, Michael Sipe. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.